What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you one crazy relationship story from r/best of Redditor updates about a woman who cheats on her husband on a work retreat. Well, that's the question. Does she or doesn't she? She comes back with what she claims is a bug bite, but in reality, it looks a little bit too much like a hickey for that to be the case. Without further ado, sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're new around here. Let's get into the story. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at a loss. How do I move forward? This was originally posted on February the 21st, 2025. I, a 27-year-old man, am in a fight with my wife, who is 28. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter who is 4. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and I held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But she backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. The whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One co-worker, a 23-year-old man, was almost in every picture or video attached to her hip. In one pic, he had his arm too comfortably around her, IMO. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texts my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and angry at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of it. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her that had nothing to do with it, and everything to do with the hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite, it looks like a hickey. I often feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during that Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? There we go. That is it for the original post. Before we get into the update, let's jump into some comments and see what the people of Reddit were saying. Somebody said, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence, or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a bug bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while they were in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. OP replied, no, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it will be another argument. Somebody else said, why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is, and why is it necessary to have, the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to her daughter at all on her birthday, or she just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? OP replied, work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for an extended period away from each other, like how long the retreat was, especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Well, that, I've got to say guys, is actually terrible. Like, not chatting to your daughter at all on her birthday is so bad. I'm going to back my own parents up here. My parents never missed one of my birthdays ever. Like, they would make sure, even if there were work trips and stuff, they wouldn't go if it was on my birthday. So, first of all, respect to them. Actually, just last year, I think, was the first time that my dad wasn't there on my birthday, I believe. And I'm 26. So, you know, there's two ways of doing it. And by the way, I've been away on my birthday without my parents, but, you know, they want to be there, which is pretty nice. And it's definitely not like this mother. Anyway, OP then responded to a deleted comment saying, yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday. And when you promise to do something special for them and got the child excited about it, and then just hang up on them while they're crying. To be honest, I don't even think the FaceTime is special at all, but there we go. I'm not insecure, OP says. My wife's gone on the retreats before. We both work outside the home and have the caring for our daughter, so it's not an imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She's in the company of other adults plenty. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, and it wasn't appreciated her entertaining a co-worker who ignores boundaries, and the fact that he had his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I got things to help her treat it for when she returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a hickey for me, and I questioned her on it. Okay, then a week later, we got the following updates. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed that she hooked up with that co-worker on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suites. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy that she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, who is 57. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from his child, and the infidelity he put her mum, who is 55, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and how when she was growing up, her mum never addressed anything with her. I said, her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents, but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mum, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home. But I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter now. Right now, she believes her mum's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb, yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed, but I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It is much appreciated. Okay, and there we go. Let's jump into some comments before I give my final thoughts. Somebody said it was already established that there had been line crossing with the co-worker prior to the trip, even if it wasn't physical yet. But even if there hadn't been, I've known co-workers' pet names for their significant others before when only interacting with them on a professional level. The fact that the guy both intentionally gave her a hickey and used the pet name says a whole heck of a lot about him though. Someone willing to engage in an affair is bad enough. This guy was doing it as some kind of sick power play. I mean, that's a great point. He is 23 as well, so he's probably very immature, and I can definitely see how someone like that is, doing it for their own ego, to be like, oh, I did this. He's probably like gone and told all his mates how he broke up a relationship with an older woman, you know. Some people like that do exist. Now, somebody replied to this saying, it is also possible that it's something super common, like honey or baby, but OP said no, it's actually a specific nickname. It's not derived from her name or anything. It just summed up things I loved about her in one word. Apparently, he turned it into a sexual context. I mean, I don't want to get too far away from the real villain of the story, who is your wife, but this guy is awful. Somebody else said, one question, how close was the colleague to her to know her nickname that you use? And why did she let him this close to her literally and figuratively? Opie said, at the time, I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department. So she took him under the wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity though. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her. And I chose to trust her because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As far as the nickname, it was something only I called her, but it wasn't like a secret thing. I called her by it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once, and he asked her about it afterwards. Okay, so I guess that leads us into a final question for OP, which ultimately has to be, do you see yourself or do you want to get back with your wife or not? And it's a very, very tough one, but I have quite strong opinions on this just based on what I've read. Now, if she had just gone on this retreat and yeah, you know, maybe she liked the look of this guy and you know, on one night she made a huge error, did what they did, and then immediately came to you and your daughter, well, maybe not your daughter, but you know what I mean, came to you and said, I can't believe it, I've done this, I'm so sorry, this is the worst thing I've ever done, etc, 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 told you everything, was completely honest about it, came home from the trip, whatever. I think then and only then could there have been any potential for you to forgive her if you wanted to. I'm not saying you should, by the way. I'm saying that only under those circumstances would, in my opinion, you be able to potentially forgive her. However, the fact of the matter is that she lied to you for who knows how long, a while, right? Like she said the Hickey was a bug bite. She was just avoiding you the entire trip, not just in that one moment or that, you know, that one day. The fact that she didn't speak to your daughter on her birthday because she was like just going after this guy. The fact that this has been a thing before, which you've obviously talked about, the guy being close to her or like, you know, trying to get with her clearly and her not actually, well, I suppose either she didn't understand it or was just a bit naive to what he was doing, or she actually knew what he was doing and was like, oh, don't worry, it's fine. Whereas in reality, she was probably actively encouraging it. All these things and more add up, and therefore I can say with all that context, then I don't see how you can ever get back with her, because it wasn't just the one, you know, moment of madness, cheating. It was all the lying and deceit and everything else on top of that. So for me, I think this relationship is sadly done. I don't know how you could ever trust someone like this again. To be honest, I think it would be very hard to, even if they did just cheat and then immediately apologize and yeah, the cheating was the only thing, but all this as well, I think it's going to be impossible. But hey, I'm not in love with this woman anyway. So there you go. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. That is going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did and want more right away, check out this episode on screen. Subscribe over there if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one.